So here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting of the Community Development Board is called to order on July 15th. Welcome, everyone. If everyone could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This board consists of 7 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the City Council and serve voluntarily. I am Michael Butskas, and I'll ask the other members and the staff to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Aubrey Hodricourt.
Mike Mastroserio.
Nancy Meyer.
Rosemary Call, City Clerk.
Matthew Midge, Assistant City Attorney.
Ted Kozak, Planning and Development.
Lauren Matzke, Planning and Development.
Diane Aginelli. Michelle Chanel.
Please remember to turn off your cell phones so that they not become a distraction during the meeting. Please also refrain from having conversations in this room so that we might hear all the testimony given today. To ensure a complete record of this board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone at the podium in front of us. Clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk. Now I will ask those in attendance today who plan to speak to please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony? Yes.
Thank you. Agenda of today's meeting on the podium to your left near the entry door. Also on this podium are a roster of the Community Development Board, the list of city staff experts and their resumes, the board's rules of procedure, and the annual schedule of this board. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
I motion to approve the last minute's meeting.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is for items not on the agenda. If anybody from the public is here that would like to speak on an item that is not on today's agenda, please approach the podium. Seeing none, I will continue. This board has adopted a consent agenda format, and the consent items are identified as such on the agenda. Consent agenda items are those items for which the Planning and Development Department recommends approval and the applicant is in agreement with any proposed conditions. Please note that written comments to the case that have been received to date do not result in an item being removed from the consent agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda today by a member of the board, a member of the staff, or any person in the audience for questions or objections. I'll read each item on the consent agenda, and if any person wishes to remove this item from the consent agenda, please so state or raise your hand and we will remove it from the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda will be heard in the regular order of the meeting. Items that remain on the consent agenda will be approved with a single vote as to each type of hearing. The item on today's consent agenda, there's 2 different types. We have level 2 and level 3, so I'm going to do it in 2 separate motions so that we can, since the form of the motion reads a little different. The first item on the consent agenda is item 4.1, FLD 2025-05008, flexible development approval for a restaurant in the commercial district as a comprehensive info redevelopment project for the property at 2010 Drew Street. Requested is flexibility to operate the use with a reduction of off-street parking spaces, and it's the level 2 application. Does anybody wish to have this item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'm going to read all 3 of them and then we'll have 2 separate motions afterwards. Item 4.2 is LUP 2025-05001 to amend the future land use map from retail and services RS Pinellas County to institutional I City of Clearwater upon annexation into the city. And that's a level 3 application. Does anybody wish to have this item removed from today's consent agenda? Seeing none. Item 4.3 is REZ 2025-05001. Amend the zoning atlas from the general business to institutional City of Clearwater upon annexation into the city, and that's also level 3 application. Does anybody wish to have this item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for item 4.1, the level 2 application?
I motion FLD 2025-05008 be approved based on, is that the way I'm doing this right? Or, yeah, be approved based on. No, I don't have it.
Use the language, just makes it easier so it's consistent.
Okay. On today's consent agenda, based on the evidence and record, including the application and the staff report, and hereby adopt the findings and fact conclusions of the law stated in the staff reports with conditions of approval as listed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion on items 4.2 and 4.3? You want the language? Those are level 3 applications.
Mr. Chair, did we do ex parte communication disclosures?
I moved to,
No,
let's see,
no, did not have the language on that.
do we need to put them together?
Yeah, do those two together, and then before the motion itself, we vote on the motion, we'll do the disclosures that.
I move to approve case number 42, ID number 25-0604, LUP 2025-05001, along with 4.3, ID 25-0605, RZZ 2025-0501. On today's consent agenda, based on the evidence and record, including the application and staff report, and hereby adopt the findings of the facts and conclusion of the law stated in the staff report with conditions approval as listed.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Chair, I believe he said 0501, and it's 05001.
Okay. We can make the record reflect that number correction there. The ex parte communications disclosure, did anybody have any ex parte communications on any of the 3 items on today's consent agenda that need to be disclosed? Okay. Do I have, all in favor of the motion for items 4.2 and 4.3, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. As far as today's agenda goes on hearings, that takes care of that part of it. Next is a director's report by Ms. Matsky, who is, I understand is no longer our interim planning director, but actual planning director.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. With that, I do not have anything to add, so
All right.
we will be looking to fill the vacant assistant director position in the near term.
Excellent. All right, very
Thank
good.
you.
Any comments from board members to be heard?
Just want to continue on what we talked about last week,
Okay.
if we can.
Last month?
From last month, yeah, I say last week all the time, last month. And I'm sorry that Jay's not here today,
Yeah.
but it's hopefully you all gave us some time and thought about the prayer before the meeting. And I don't do it to offend anybody, whether it be anybody in the audience or anybody at the dais. But I do think that it's very much part of the fabric of what our country was built on. This originally came about because Councilman David Albritton asked me to bring it back up when I first got on the board many, many months ago. And as we, and I told Jay before we met that I was going to bring it up, and he said, he was against it then. And so I did some soul searching and research and so on and so forth. And it's funny because we start off our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance to God. Normally, if somebody puts their hand on the Bible to a president gets elected, he puts his hand on the Bible. He doesn't put it on the Quran or he doesn't put it on anything. He puts it on the Bible. That's where it is. And then also in Congress, they all start with prayer, and all the different, our city councils, as far as locals, does it. So I did a little research too, though. The first prayer was in Congress in 1776, or 1774, and John Adams asked somebody, and they had a chaplain to say the prayer. He's Presbyterian. But anyway, I'm not going to go into all that, but that's when the first one was read. And then I even went to ChatGPT. And the purpose and intention of prayer is to invite clarity and focus. Prayer helps participants shift from distractions to the purpose of the meeting. Align values. It reminds everyone of shared principles like integrity, service, and humility. Unity and respect fosters collaboration. A moment of prayer can create a sense of togetherness and even diverse perspectives. Encourage respectful dialogue. It's a tone of mutual respect and openness. Wisdom and guidance. Seeks divine insight. Many believe prayer invites wisdom beyond personal understanding. Support ethical decision-making. Encourages choices that reflect. Thank God ChatGPT was there. But anyway, more so than that, I go with my love for Jesus Christ and the fact that he calls us to pray. And so with that, I'd like to make a motion to put prayer back, and, oh, let me go one step further, Rose. I will be happy to make sure that all 12 spots are full, so the staff doesn't have to worry about it.
I appreciate that, but before the motion is seconded, I just want to make a remind, based on the last meeting, the board's attorney did say he was going to speak with the city attorney for his guidance, of which I don't think that has been shared with the board, hasn't been shared with me, so.
It was not shared with me.
I don't know if you want to postpone any further discussion or motion until that is given, because I'm not sure what the results of those conversations was. I know that he was going to ask a memo or some formal guidance from the city attorney.
Before we do that, let me just also say the Supreme Court upheld, because that's what Jay's always worried about, somebody being able to. So the Supreme Court upheld Town of Greece, New York, the practice of offering prayer before a meeting. And the Supreme Court upheld that. I think it was Town of Greece versus Marsh, I believe is what it was. But we can wait, but we've been waiting and waiting.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Without actually formally making the motion, how is your motion going to read? Because I have, that might obviate whether we need to wait or not.
Well, I was going to say, instead of me making a motion, yeah, why don't we have other discussion? Maybe that might be.
But yeah, just if you can answer that question for me first.
I just want to open in prayer, and as far as inclusiveness of other faiths, I'm not against that. I mean, it depends on what you call faith. If it's a satanic, Jay brought this up and it's stuck in my mind. If it's Satanism or what do you call it, satanic?
Satanic.
Then I'd be against that. But, if it's somebody in the Muslim faith or whatever, I'm not against that, because prayer is, in my idea, prayer is to a higher calling, but my Lord Jesus Christ is my higher calling. So I guess it all depends on, what it is, but and somebody also mentioned the moment of silence, but I am one way or the other, and I don't mean one way or the other, I just would love to honor, it might be a moment of silence where I can just do it myself, and hopefully everybody else does too. I don't know what each one of your walks are, but I do believe that prayer has been a big part of our country since the beginning. I think our world has made it more secular, and that's why it went away to begin with. In fact, the funny thing is, Dave told me that it was because there was a guy in charge at the time that was a Quaker, and he's the one that asked if he got it removed. But the funny thing is, in the first Congress in 1774, it was a Quaker that wanted it. But
So,
anyway.
Personally, as far as comments from others, personally, I would like to see it brought back as well. But I do think that getting some guidance or input from Jay after he's spoken with the city attorney would be helpful. And while the Supreme Court has blessed it, if you will, the reality is that I'm an attorney and I know what attorneys do for a living. And part of what Jay said last time as well is it's not so much will it get knocked out or not get knocked out, it's how much do you spend defending if somebody starts raising claims, and will that be something that would likely start costing the city money simply because people are raising claims and giving us something else to pick at or to challenge that. I'd like some input on that personally, because I want this to be something that we do, but also something that's going to be not putting the city at undue expense or risk from that perspective. Believe me, I see things challenged in court. My partners who are litigators all the time. I've chosen not to go to court any longer, so I don't. But I think that not much has changed since I stopped going in the courtroom. So that's my thought on that. I welcome input. I'm going to start over on this side, and we'll kind of work our way back
If I may,
towards you.
as you continue
Yes,
your
please.
discussion, it's also, this wasn't an agenda item. This might be something that you might want to make an agenda item before any kind of motion or
Yeah.
decision is made. I hear you saying waiting for some guidance from the attorneys, which of
Yeah.
course I would also recommend you do. Because yes, the Supreme Court says you can do it, but there are a lot of ways you can get in trouble if you do use it, if you do have that. So I think the guidance from the attorneys is important, but also that probably having this on an agenda item so the public could know about it and give their input as well would be in line with your procedures.
I have no objection to it. I know Mike's, like I said, I have no objection to it
Okay.
at all. It's just it's part of my life. It's, but everyone's walk is a bit different. Oh, I'm sorry. I have no objection to it. I know everyone else's walk could be a little bit different or have something else in it that they don't necessarily agree with. But I think overall, even like you had said, all the other religions all, at some point, all have one person or one thing that they all go to. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
I have no objection to it either. I can speak to uphold what you said about it being a fabric of our country, having just seen Hamilton 2 days ago again, and it was a very big, according to the play, I realize it's a play, but it was a very big part of our Constitution and the development of our country, and I think it is a part of our foundation. So I don't see that it's a negative, and as long as we handle it properly and do it in the best manner we can, it should be a positive for our community.
I don't have much to add today. I'd rather wait and save mine for the day we vote. But as a general philosophy, I would very much be in favor of it. But the mechanics of how we do that or how we approve that, I think would be, subject to some wild shift, I would 100% be in favor of it.
Great.
I would be more in favor of a moment of silence. I don't think, prayer has become kind of an exhibition at public events. And as far as our founding fathers go, the country was a lot different back then religiously. They were mostly Christian, but our country's not that anymore. So I would say, yes, if you want some way to reflect this, your need to have a moment with your maker, fine. I just don't think it needs to be publicly expounded.
So if everybody's kind of input there, I think my preference would be that we wait until we get some feedback from Jay. He's not here this month, so we get that next month. I don't think it's going to be earth-crushing if we don't, but I also agree with the recommendation that that when we're going to vote on it, it should be a listed agenda item as compared to just board discussion, because we want to make sure every person who's a member of the board, if they feel like they need to be there to have their piece and say their part on it, that they make their plans to be here. I mean, they should be here anyways, but that's, we all have things that come up.
I guess my question would be, not that dissimilar than when we add a condition to a different agenda item, is there going to be clarity on the mechanics of what we're voting on?
That's what I was
As opposed to
looking for.
just saying we're approving prayer, that would be, I think, something I'd be very interested in.
I would think the process is going to be, and I'll add a caveat to it, but I think the process is going to be that Jay, if the city attorney told him, yes, go ahead and put together a memo together, because he'd have to request that, because that involves time and fee and expense. And he would probably circulate that memo. We would not be allowed to have a discussion ex parte about it, but we'd all be able to have that memo in advance, and we'd read it, review it, we'd understand. And if there are things that we thought were lacking or otherwise, we could bring them up and discuss them as a board when we vote on the item or look at the item for consideration of a vote. The caveat to that is, we're going to get a memorandum from Jay, and everybody should read it from the perspective of what you're looking for to get out of informationally, but also understand. And respectfully to Jay, he's made it very clear that his legal opinion is that, and not his personal opinion, but his legal opinion is that it opens up a whole can of worms. And so there's going to be a bit of that in the memorandum, and you need to look at that and see and weigh it based upon your own thoughts.
I guess that's my question. I'm pretty sure I know what Jay's going to say, so that's almost not the point. But I guess what I'm asking, if Mike's going to make a motion, is Mike going to need to make a very specific motion, or is that something that someone on the board would work with Jay on, or how would that?
I'm guessing here, okay? But my guess would be, knowing Jay over the years that I've worked with him through this stuff I've done with the city of Clearwater, he's going to give his reasons about why this can or why it could work and why it could be issued. But then he would likely also make recommendations that if you were to do this, here's the procedures that you would need to look at. Because that would be part of what he'd be doing from his research. That's the way I would approach the research as an attorney. So there would be enough there for us to say, these are the mechanics of, yeah, we like the idea, we understand the risks or the concerns, but we don't think there are going to be significant concerns with this board, with the few number of people that we have coming from the public here and the like, and it's more a matter of the board, but also the people who will watch it. But I think that, I think there'll be some mechanics in there that we can kind of build a motion based on, so it doesn't become something, I would hate to have a motion that simply says, let's have prayer, and then not have any mechanics or limitations to it, where it becomes more of an issue down the road about each chairman can twist that into whatever they want. I no desire to twist it into anything, but there's different people have different agendas and different personalities, and you just have to have some mechanisms in place, so that's kind of objective.
I just want to know what I'm voting on.
Yeah.
And I was going to add to that, most likely that's what you're going to get. I would expect Jay's memo to say, here's the law, here's the yes, the no, the in-between, and here, if you want to do it, here's the proper, or the way I would recommend you do it procedure-wise. You're going to want policies. Because he's probably already mentioned to you, one of the things you're going to try to avoid is this individual wants to give a prayer and you're fine with that, but this individual doesn't. That's where your problem
Who's
becomes. So
going
you
to
need to have
give the
procedures
prayer?
and policies for making those selections and a clear guidance and criteria, and he'll bring that to you, I would imagine.
And I would think we'd want to put that in the CDB rules too, Paul.
Yeah, that's why it would have to be a motion, so it can go to the
Yeah.
rules. And it would modify the agenda, because it'd be a spot for on the agenda. It would impact the rules probably in about 3 different places, is my guess.
Might even take a couple of meetings to kind of.
Yeah, it may. It may be that he gives us some recommendations, we have a motion, so they proceeds forward with formal rule amendments, in the following meeting, we approve the actual rule amendments. That's procedurally, that makes the
Tweak them
most
as you
amount of
go.
sense.
And obviously you can send him with one direction, when he comes back, you can tweak it again
Yeah.
and get it to where you want it to be.
Yeah.
So,
Does the same law firm and Jay handle city council?
No, the city has an in-house attorney for city council.
That would be my boss, Mr. Margolis.
Yeah, so Mr. Margolis,
Oh.
the city of Clearwater has an in-house city attorney, so.
I'm just
separate.
curious
Because
because
this
they
is a
do.
quasi
And Mr.
judicial
Minich
board,
is
you have it
here
separate.
representing the city, and Jay represents the board
Okay.
as a board, so that we get guidance.
And I thought it was my understanding that Jay wanted to speak with my boss about the memo.
Right.
As far as like authorizing it, like, and all that kind of stuff.
That's where I was going
I
to.
don't know if that conversation has happened yet. I'm not privy to all their conversations, so.
Okay. So we will discuss this again at the next meeting, and we'll see if Jay's get us some feedback on that.
I'll
If-
send him a reminder.
Pardon me?
I'll send him a reminder.
Thank you, if you would, I would
Absolutely.
appreciate if you would do that.
So it's going to be an agenda item on the next month?
If he has a memo ready, it would be, again, I think that it would be an agenda item that we would vote upon whether we want to proceed or not proceed with that, based upon what his recommendations are at the risks. Then they would come back with the rule amendments the following meeting that would actually change what's in the rules as far as the rules go, as far as, and also what the agenda is, to put it in the right place.
Got it.
And to proceed from there.
Okay.
And then we would vote on the actual mechanics of it the following meeting, if we gave the authority to go ahead. Because, next meeting, we may end up all voting, that it's just gonna be a moment of silence, or we may all vote that we may just not make a motion at all, or we make a motion along the lines of what Mike's talking about, and we go from there. We'll see how it goes, gotta stay open-minded about it.
That's fine, and it's funny, what you mentioned that our world has changed, and we've become much more of a secular world.
No, we've become there's much more religious people. I mean, there's all kinds of religious people.
Yeah, there is.
And yes, there's secular too, but that wasn't my point.
Okay. That's just, and I think we need to get back to what our
Well-
country was founded on.
I think it's a very personal thing, okay? We don't need to make it a public thing. That's all I'm saying. So a moment of silence, fine. I just don't, and then who gets to choose who prays? Do we bring in a priest every time, or a preacher, or whatever? I mean, how's that work?
I think that would be the mechanic, if we decided we want to go forward, but I think that's the next step, that would then be integrated into how we do the rules. So that would be our discussion next time, more than likely, to give them guidance for how to make the actual rule amendments. That'd be my thought. So, having done some stuff like this in the past, so procedurally. All right, any other discussion amongst board members? Then I think today's meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.